Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Nerd Variety. This is our weekly show where we talk about nerd variety things.
I
still haven't pinned down my good intro. It's all things nerd, all things variety, right? That's
various nerdy things.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyways,
somewhere in between those two.
Yeah. Anyways, this is a crazy time, and we are having to take what time we can to try to relax. I don't know who all's back at work, but I've been back at work for a while, and I love weekends. They give me a chance to, relax, do my own thing, and work on some things that I need to do. I need to work on.
Did anyone do any witchcraft this weekend?
Oh, I mean, always, but yeah.
It was the perfect weekend for it.
I think
Full moon on Halloween with a weird extra hour in the day.
Yeah, it was super weird.
Extra long Halloween.
Ghost hunting, actually. I did some ghost hunting with a few people. Yeah. It was good.
You see any spirits?
I died only like twice.
I still have yet to die in that.
You see spirits, Hunter?
I know, gosh, it's so unfair. What have you guys been doing this weekend? Hannah, I know you were hunting ghosts with me.
Yeah, we hunted some ghosts. I hung out in my driveway with my family in costume, hoping that some people would come get candy. And some did. They took all the Skittles and left only Starburst. So I have lots of Starburst now.
Well, we
odd choice.
Moved. I just moved. So me and my mom and... So we don't have anything set up, so we did not want trick-or-treaters. We weren't expecting trick-or-treaters. We kept the lights out, and we were in my room watching Rocky Horror Picture Show for the first time.
I still have yet to see that.
It was my first time. It's weird.
I've heard.
Yes.
Yeah. I will say, Hunter, you're delving into musicals. That makes me really happy.
Yeah. Here's my dad's suggestion. Josh, what did you do this weekend?
Oh, me. I did a little thing at my work. We call it Trunk or Treat. It's kind of like a drive-through trick-or-treating thing for the kids to come up and get candy with some distancing in place. I wore a hockey mask, so I got to scare them as Jason. Some of them were actually like, "Oh my God, it's Jason!" And I was like, "Huh? How do you know who Jason is?" Like, I didn't know who.
Scaring them as a
little kids get older and older.
Right. But it was a nice range of like, oh my God, it's Jason. Hey, Jason. Versus like, Mom, help.
You gotta find that sweet spot right in the middle.
You're right.
Kids love serial killers.
Yeah. And then just a bonfire watching, Rocky Horror and Friday the 13th on Halloween night. That was nice.
I don't believe that you watched Rocky Horror. We didn't coordinate it.
No, I watched it last night. I watched it for the first time last year. So that was eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's good. It's bad. But
it's so bad it's good.
Like it's not because I want to compare it to The Room because they have like the cult following and they do the midnight showings and stuff. It's not The Room bad. It actually has decent acting.
Is it aware it's bad?
What?
Is it aware it's bad?
I would say so. It feels.
Because I feel like the worst thing about The Room is that it's not aware it's bad.
Yeah,
right. It's bad, but it doesn't think it's bad. It thinks it's good.
It's got to know it's bad.
It isn't. Rocky Horror doesn't take itself too seriously though. So
okay, all right.
It has that going.
Okay, that's important.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for next week.
Right. And then Sunday, I got to hang out with my friends on the Josh Terry podcast. If you're down to hear a good conversation, feel free to check them out. They're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you want to listen.
Hey, I know some of those places. I know some of those places.
Are
those some of the same places you can find our podcast?
Exactly. That's right, Hunter.
What?
A+.
It's a small world after all.
It's actually a large world with a lot of outlets, and luckily we are on quite a few outlets there for podcasts.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
All right. This week, I thought you were going to add more. I kept waiting.
Silence. Just
Josh,
keep going.
I was just kind of waiting for you.
Keep going.
Oh, okay, no, just continuing on.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyways, this has made me lose track of what our topic is. We have changed it a little bit from what we said last week. We are doing favorite settings this week, which is a little bit different from before. We were going to do favorite time periods or eras. Then we decided we've kind of touched on that largely before in like historical stuff and yeah, just things like that. So now we're going to try to broaden it out, make it hopefully a little more fun. And because of these last minute changes, as you can expect from us, it is going to be weird probably.
We are not prepared.
No. If you play World of Warcraft, you ought to get that reference. And I'm thankful that you said that, even though you don't get World of Warcraft reference.
I don't know if I should say this publicly, but in my house, playing World of Warcraft is a euphemism for sex. We're like, they're gonna go play World of Warcraft. I don't know how that started, but it's like a thing in my family.
Okay, I really kind of wish I didn't know that.
I'm sorry.
Oh my god!
Just every time you say it, that's what I think of. I'm sorry.
All right.
I really don't remember how that started.
You know what? We were talking.
I'm sorry.
How you don't like. How I don't like interrupting people. You don't like interrupting people. I'm going to interrupt you for that. Okay. I'm just going to cut you right off so that we don't have to hear more about that.
There wasn't more.
Anyways, favorite settings. Yes, we are talking about settings that we enjoy, why we enjoy them, and maybe some examples of these settings. So it's going to get weird because there are some weird settings that I like.
Well, then why don't you start?
Why don't I start? Because I am not prepared. I just start talking until I come up with
So
an
you
idea.
don't have weird examples.
Okay, I do. But okay, here. So recently, I always talk about games that I've been playing recently, or movies or shows I've been watching. And recently, it has very much been The Legend of Zelda. Breath of the Wild, most recently. I also just I took my mom to GameStop today. Actually, we had to hit two because one had one of the games. We got Twilight Princess for one of them, and then they didn't have Skyward Sword, so we had to drive all the way to another one through quite a bit of traffic to get that. And Twilight Princess, I have played so many times, and I always enjoy it. Skyward Sword, I rented for a little bit way back when, and part of it, it really got in my way, so I couldn't play very much of it. But now I am so excited, and I've been reinvigorated with the Zelda spirit through Breath of the Wild and the upcoming Age of Calamity, that I just want to talk about it, and I just want to have people to talk about it with. So that kind of whole thing, if you're familiar with Breath of the Wild specifically, and just kind of Legend of Zelda in general, they are one of those fantasy worlds that have a lot of kind of sci-fi stuff mixed in with it, like these advanced technologies, but in a very fantasy setting. So in Breath of the Wild specifically, they have these guardians, which it's like this ancient technology, and they like shoot lasers and stuff.
I was gonna say, have either of you seen Atlantis, the Disney's Atlantis?
Yeah, a long time
It's
ago.
kind of the same sort of thing, where like they're going to the mysterious city of Atlantis, but they have this weird future tech. But it's also fantasy-like.
It's also this ancient tech.
Yeah.
That we have no idea. We have no idea how it works.
Yeah.
Ancient future, kind of like Star Wars, actually, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of thing is always probably a favorite for mine. I would say World of Warcraft does the fantasy sci-fi kind of mix a lot too. You know, they have a lot of it is very clearly like a fantasy thing where you got this like magic, and really honestly right now I am totally blanking. That is the only thing I'm thinking of when I think sci-fi. I know there's more to it, but I'm blanking. and then it's got like spaceships and stuff and traveling to other planets and sometimes weird advanced technology. But yeah, that thing's always been interesting to me. Maybe even I don't really want to draw a direct comparison to Star Wars because, well, first of all, I feel like I've already done that. But there is a for sure difference between a fantasy world with a heavy sci-fi like presence versus a sci-fi world with a very heavy fantasy presence. Like I know, so Star Wars is a sci-fi thing with a heavy fantasy presence. It's got like the Force.
Okay.
It's got these other creatures and some like quests and stuff.
But
Journeys.
those are more of like, that's just kind of that's just a theoretical alien planet.
Oh yeah, and then you also have like
Force
Destiny.
is kind of a minute thing.
You also have Destiny, which is another that's like it's very much a sci-fi thing, but you also have like magic and all these interesting like sort of things going on, like different creations, kind of alien, but also kind of almost mystical races.
Yeah, supernatural. Destiny's definitely a better example of a blend of sci-fi and fantasy worlds. That you can interact with and visit and
but again, it's like you look at it and it's very much on a base surface a sci-fi thing with fantasy elements, whereas like Legend of Zelda is very much like a fantasy setting with sci-fi elements in it. So I don't know if again, I also like it because I have a tendency to like complicated things and make them more complicated in my explanation. And it's just, they always feel very unique to me.
Yeah, why limit something to pure sci-fi or pure fantasy? We can do both.
Yeah.
Would you say something like the I want to say they're dwarven, like the old Dwemer ruins in Skyrim are kind of like a sci-fi element to that fantasy world?
Yeah.
Because they're all like, they're just very like mechanical.
Yeah.
And like seemingly more advanced technology-wise than like everybody else in Skyrim.
Yeah. And I mean, even in Elder Scrolls, that is a good part of it. And they really do, from what I understand, they really do kind of minimize a science, I guess a sci-fi, because that one's a bit weird for me to really want to classify.
It's not like fully sci-fi, but it's not typical
it's like
fantasy.
Gears and stuff. You don't really have like lasers.
Yeah, it kind of goes into the like. If you go to the ruins, you see some elements of like steampunk.
Yeah, that's
in there,
yeah.
And that's like it kind of blends steampunk and sci-fi together.
Yeah, because it's like they're kind of like robots, which are pretty sci-fi, but they're not really robots. But are they robots? They're like some weird, not really.
I think they are, but I don't know. They're annoying, is what they are, especially in Skyrim.
Yeah, but those ruins are so valuable. You can take so many of those things back and like make ingots and.
I hate going through there every time.
So profitable.
Whenever I go in there,
ruins.
See it.
Yeah.
Whenever I see the Dwemer ruins, I'm like, no, not ever.
Yeah.
No.
I feel you on that, Hunter.
Let's go to Dark Brotherhood stuff.
I like them.
Yeah, let's go clear out a dungeon.
Kill some bandits.
Yeah. Take all their stuff. I think of a good. If we're talking about combinations of like sci-fi and fantasy, like look at some of the different worlds in DC Comics or Marvel Comics, specifically like Krypton, and then you also have Asgard. Asgard kind of starts, especially it goes bases off Norse legends of being a very magical, supernatural place. And then in the movies they portray it as, this is just kind of how our technology works, and it looks like magic to you, but it's our science. And then with Krypton, it's a very, it's definitely sci-fi, but some of the crap they pull is like, seems like magic to us. But I like how the artist designs of it as, you know, Krypton's very crystalline type planet with some, you know, futuristic stuff, and Asgard has that, you know, kind of that old, you know, castle. How would y'all describe, you know, how they did Asgard in the movies?
It definitely felt very like Norse mythology,
Yeah.
I guess.
It was kind of like they were evolving into sort of these, you know, not higher functioning, but like better technology and a better understanding of the world around them, but also like staying true to sort of like their Viking heritage of being religious and trying to, you know, like be with the earth and things like that.
Like a very Valhalla vibe.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it is, I think.
Yeah, they were living on a planetoid or some weird disk in space, and they had the Bifrost, and you know, there was a bunch of magical stuff, supernatural stuff. Then they also had the little, you know, the ships and the turrets and stuff, and the weird machine they used that in combination with the Rainbow Bridge to teleport them to places. So I like things like that.
Well, and you know, you mentioned DC. You mentioned Krypton. I was also thinking like of Apocalypse. It kind of has that sort of fantasy sci-fi vibe, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they just use a lot of, you know, far-flung alien technology, but they're also like, they call themselves gods, and they have people that worship them, and they have a kind of a whole religion. And a lot of the stuff they do is like, okay, this is like science stuff. This is okay, but this is all magic. Don't worry about all that. It's all magic.
Yeah, it's very interesting, I think, and that's one of the things I'm most looking forward to for the Snyder Cut, because I think we're going to see Apocalypse and Darkseid a lot more.
Yeah, just a nice little glimpse. I'm sure they can make it. Zack Snyder can do a pretty good job of making the hellish, dystopian planet that, you know, that Apocalypse looks like from the comics.
Yeah.
I have a setting that I like.
We were waiting for you.
Yay!
Yeah.
I legitimately talk about this so much because it's from The Witcher.
Oh.
And I at this point I think my sister's fiance has played the game, but that's the only person who's like in my immediate family, I think, other than me, who's played it. But we all watched the Netflix series together. And so in trying to convince my family to play it, I always show them pictures of Toussaint.
Yeah, that's why.
Because I love it so much.
You're gonna maybe rewatch the show, because I watched it all last year. I loved it, but I'm having trouble remembering things. I know season 2 we have another year before that comes out.
Well, I mean, the only thing that you really need to remember for my explanation here is that the whole show kind of, I want to say, is kind of like in a grayscale sort of thing. Like, it's stark and dreary for the most part. He's wandering through swamps trying to find monsters and kill them, things like that. And most of the game is like that too. But then one of the DLCs, you get to go to Toussaint, and it literally looks like something out of a fairy tale. Yeah. It's like white buildings and vineyards sprawling through the countryside. And it's apparently based off of like the countrysides of like France and Italy, but it's just absolutely gorgeous and really, really fun to play through. Both sort of like the, you know, ride Roach through the vineyards and then up the winding ramps to get to the top of the palace.
And like basically just everything glows.
It's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
And The Witcher 3 is like, the graphics are good enough that you can really, really appreciate how pretty it is.
Yeah.
But also it's just awesome, and you fight monsters.
I don't know. It makes me feel like I probably feel like I'm poor if I go in there.
Yeah, well, you do get your own like vineyard. That's like, this is my vineyard. And you have a house, and it's just like, I just want to live there, except for them like vampires.
I really like,
but otherwise, I just want to live there.
When
I don't want to talk about vampires anymore after last week.
When I played through it, I I think I must have taken a really big break between like playing most of it or a large part of it and then finishing it, because like at the end of it you go back to your vineyard and I was like, oh, I forgot this was here. I forgot I
Yeah.
had this.
Yeah, you can like decorate the walls with things that you find and put like suits of armor on armor stands, and it's very homey. It's nice. Yeah. But yeah,
Although
I just remember being what?
in any series I'm bad at decorating, pimping out my place.
Oh yeah, I am too. But you always have those suits of armor that you're like, oh, this is like a full suit, and I like it, but I'm like, it's below my level. Just put it on an armor stand. That's pretty. But yeah, I just remember playing it for the first time and just like my jaw dropped when I saw the city for the first time because it's so bright and beautiful, and
So
literally
pristine.
feels like Cinderella or Rapunzel should live there. Like really, really pretty.
Is this what it feels like to be the 1%?
And there's a lot of good characters there as well. So big fan.
It's good.
Josh, any settings that you like?
I do like talking about places, just places like different,
Could be a place. It could be a time period.
Oh, we're talking about time periods. I do like visiting, like playing games or movies like visiting like World War II or Cold War, just kind of seeing how the world was back then and knowing about kind of having that kind of retrospective, like, okay, I know what all was going on back then, and now getting a chance to walk around in that world and participate in events. That's really fun to me.
Yeah, it is really fun. Maybe fun's not the right word that I want to use here. It's really interesting. I feel like when you go back to like real events in history in any format, whether it's games or movies, if they're done really well, they can be really eye-opening. I was watching, I think maybe I've mentioned this, I was watching The Umbrella Academy, and they get stuck in the 60s, and one of the main characters is a black woman, and they have a sit-in at a cafe to protest racial discrimination. And it was like kind of made the whole thing like really real for a minute. I was like, like this stuff really happened.
Yep.
And so I feel like seeing World War II stuff can have a very similar effect.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you can read about something in a book, but like experiencing it through a movie or a game kind of brings it to a whole nother level.
I think I think we might have touched on a couple of these when we did our historical fiction discussion. I also like enjoy the age of pirates and piracy. Yeah, such a great time. Well, it's a great time for pirates. For pirates, yeah. For people they robbed and just all the conflict, that was probably bad. But it's still fun to like visit it or pretend like you're part of it.
For a time, it was good for pirates.
Yeah.
It's funny because like piracy is still a thing, which is interesting. And I feel like for the most part, piracy in games and movies is vastly romanticized.
Oh, definitely.
But it's still fun.
Yeah. It's like, the highest amount of adventure I think you can have on the planet. Like you're on a ship on the ocean, you're gonna get on this other ship. You don't know what's on there, but you got to get there, get what they got, take what they have, and get away scot-free and just live your own life.
I have a running list of movies that I think, I don't call them perfect movies, I call them well-rounded movies. So they got a little bit of everything in them. So like Princess Bride, and Pirates of the Caribbean is definitely, I think, comes close to being a perfect movie.
A perfect movie.
I don't know. I feel like it has everything you could want out of a movie in it.
And we're talking about Black Pearl, right?
Yeah, that's the only one that, in my opinion, we really should talk about.
I still haven't seen the last
2 and 3, maybe, but 7 or whatever doesn't need to be talked about. I don't think we've gotten 7 yet. Maybe I don't think we
will talk about 7 when they eventually release it.
No,
we've gotten 5, and I haven't seen 4 or 5.
They're okay, but they're not the first one.
Yeah. 4 is you start to feel the age of it, and 5 they're starting to they're starting to kind of tread water.
I always like to say there's a
Mute.
point in time in a lot of series, and we're getting off topic, but there's a point in time in a lot of series where you can tell they're just continuing to make more because the first ones did well,
Mhm.
and not because they had a story to tell.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like Pirates hit that pretty quick.
But they still have that, you're kind of part of this fantasy world, but you're engaging in like, historical stuff with piracy, but there's also some fantasy elements mixed in, which is pretty cool, which makes it really fun to watch, to see what they come up with, even though some of it's like, okay, this is
Well, and I feel like
obviously a cash grab.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of pirate stuff does, because they talk about curses and Davy Jones' locker, and so I feel like it lends itself well to sort of having a mystical element to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, if you want a more grounded take, I suppose, on pirates, and you like video games, obviously Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag is fantastic. And if you haven't played it and you like pirates, you for sure should.
I've been thinking about it. I couldn't remember which one it was. I gotta find it because
It's Black Flag. It's the obvious one.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's
because I think Sarah's played it and she really liked it. So
it's great. You talk about romanticizing. It's probably the least romanticized version of pirates you could see, because
but maybe I want it for me.
And I mean, well, I mean,
most
I think
people
it's
do.
interesting because you definitely see that the main character you play as, he definitely has a romanticized view of it, and it causes problems, and you see how it kind of hurts him as a person, and he kind of learns from it and everything. So I think it's just a near perfect game, as you
Interesting.
So we have a perfect Pirates movie, a perfect Pirates game. Are there any perfect Pirates shows?
I don't know of any pirate shows
to complete the trilogy here.
Very possible, but I don't pay much attention to a lot of stuff like that.
I don't know.
I will. Well, since y'all had those picks, I will research that and hopefully give an answer next week.
Remember, TV is your domain, Josh.
I thought I was pretty close to movies, but it's fine.
Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't keep track of you two. I'm video games, okay? That's
what. No way. Yeah, Hunter, you got video games, so I'll take a look at some pirate TV shows. Another, again, from the historical fiction, I do enjoy looking back at the Greek-Roman era, and also feudal Japan. That's what seems like a really, really interesting time.
Yeah.
Those are for sure two big ones for me, I would say. Greece is definitely a good one, ancient Greece. And honestly, ancient Egypt, but that's because I'm looking at I'm in the Assassin's Creed mindset right now, because as of today, as of the time this episode goes live, we're exactly a week away from Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and Norse stuff is that's my favorite mythology.
I think anything Norse Vikings, people are just hungry for
Norse
that stuff.
I love. I think it's wonderful, and I'm so excited to get my hands on that game when it comes out. But yeah, again, Assassin's Creed did Egypt and ancient Greece, the last two games, and now they're doing Valhalla, so they're doing Nordic stuff. I'm always bad at where that is, because didn't they kind of go?
Yeah, they were nomadic for a good bit.
But
it was all Scandinavia, Norway, anywhere you could reach via water.
Northern Europe.
And I think the game is going to focus on them going to England, probably. I think. I don't really know too much about that. But, I got really, I don't know if you know this about me, I get into a habit of becoming very passionate about something, like really passionate for a very short amount of time, and then I get burnt out on it, or I just forget about it and just go.
I feel like a lot of people are that way.
But one thing that I got real passionate about for a minute there was it was like I was gonna write a screenplay for a Norse. It was a Norse setting. Something it tells you how
Yeah,
quickly it went because I don't even remember exactly what I was gonna do with it.
Yeah, I remember you had some names picked out.
Yeah. Well, there was
Sure.
also that Greek one that I wanted to do. But that I still have this what I wrote in the script. It's like less than a page, so it's not very much. But yeah, no, there was a quick moment there where I was really into writing screenplays for something or podcasts, but like with a story.
Yeah.
I gotta admit, I don't feel like I'm super familiar with a lot of the Norse mythology. I'm pretty familiar with like Greek and Egyptian, and I do love stories sort of set around the myths from those places. And I also would like to learn more about like the different mythologies of different Asian cultures, because I feel like those are cool too.
You want to borrow this?
Yeah, they had a lot. What is that?
It's the Poetic Edda, stories of the Norse gods and heroes. I bought this when I wanted to do research for my thing.
Yeah.
And
my favorite.
I circled some stuff.
I'm trying to remember the name of my favorite Norse goddess. I want to say it starts with an F. I don't remember, but she's
Frigga?
like
Freya?
maybe. Yeah, it's one of those two. Yeah.
Freya and Frigga are the same person.
But the best thing is she's got a chariot that's pulled by cats.
She what?
She's a chariot that's pulled by house cats.
I did not know that.
Yeah, because the house cat was a gift that a wife would be given on her wedding day, because they would like take care of rodents and stuff and help kind of keep the house tidy. And she was like the goddess of marriage or fertility or something. And she had a chariot pulled by cats.
Well, and you know
that's interesting.
You know, Freya's Odin's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why she's my favorite.
I also learned a lot of Norse mythology by playing the newest God of War.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I think just Norse Viking, war stories have a lot of everything. They have the big battles, the piracy, the fantasy stuff, and it just makes it a very inviting, culture to kind of. Yeah, the drinking too. Yes.
I feel like it might be as close as you can get to like a real life Lord of the Rings.
Maybe.
Yeah, you definitely have some. I think they throw in some extra Camelot stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's close to it.
Yeah. But I mean, there also is just more not necessarily in the mythology as far as I know, but at least in the history of like Vikings and stuff. There's a lot of overlap with English folklore, and well, not folklore if we're talking about real, but just the English.
Yeah. The Anglo-Saxons.
Yes.
They're all what specifically, Hunter?
Yes, that word. Those things.
Yes. Yeah, they're
I'm bad with a lot of that stuff. I'm bad with a lot of English, Anglo-Saxon stuff, whatever. I have always been, in terms of like mythology and just different places, in terms of countries, I've always been much more interested in like Greeks, Norse, Nordic, and a little less so, but still more than English is Egyptian.
Can I just say, I feel like it shows, and it's going to be a little political here. I feel like it shows just sort of our Eurocentric view of the world. I feel like across the board, that's what people think of when they think of mythology. And I'm like, I want to see some really cool, really well done, like Native American stories, and like the Incas and the Aztecs and the Mayans. Yeah. Like they had a ton of like really cool stories.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know anything about those.
Yeah, you also have like Indian and African mythology, and they have their legends as well.
Yeah.
But
I'm actually surprisingly. Sorry, go ahead.
It's just an untouched section or I guess untouched. I don't know if it's like if they're afraid of offending someone, if they're afraid, they just don't feel like it's marketable. But we're in 2020, so I think
Yeah.
people are open to see, and hear about some of these different, settings and, exploring these different places.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I like Japanese folklore and stuff. I also find very interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, and as someone who watches a lot of K-dramas, there's a lot of like historical K-dramas set back in the day in Korean history.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
those are pretty cool.
yeah, and we love our, uh, Japanese our anime that
Mm.
has the feudal Japan or fantasy Japan, because we love our dragons.
Dragons.
Yes, dragons and Bushido and ninjas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I feel like I actually do know a little bit about like some African mythology. I unfortunately don't know what actual country it's from.
Well, I mean, there's Egyptian,
No, not Egyptian.
because that's
I
Africa.
can't remember.
But
Egypt is Africa, but I feel like it's on the Mediterranean, and so I feel like it kind of
it really intersects with all the Greek, Roman stuff.
yeah.
Because they are all kind of played together back around that time. But then you had to go a little south to this, like below the Sahara and the Ivory Coast and like getting down to South Africa.
Well,
I don't think there's any mythology in Antarctica.
Well, it's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Ice race.
It's been a long time, so I'm not entirely sure what they've done with it. I got kind of bored with it because it felt like a lot of Flash, but there might be. I don't know if either of you have watched American Gods or read the book, but they do, from what I recall, they do a pretty good job of trying to incorporate modern day versions of like all of like a lot of different mythologies and stuff. It's it's interesting. The show to me felt very flashy with not a lot of substance, but I didn't stick with it too long.
So I feel like this conversation has turned from favorite settings into just mythology.
We jumped from settings to
mythology.
like eras to mythology.
I mean, I think that, that sticks with the theme.
It does,
Some of our favorite settings collectively are mythology.
Well, and I was thinking earlier that like settings could include people. So like if you say like, oh, I like things set in Camelot, that implies like King Arthur and Merlin and Guinevere and Lancelot and like all these things.
English stuff.
Yeah. And so I feel like mythology is the same way because it's a time period and it's a place, but it also is characters and people.
Mm-hmm. And just their culture. You're just kind of seeing their culture play out.
It all sort of plays into the setting of mythology.
No.
So.
Well,
it counts.
Yeah. So we kind of put out a disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. This was going to be a little bit looser, so I think we got it pretty well though. Anyways, hopefully next week we might be a little bit tighter on here.
We will.
Yes.
What do we have next week, Hannah? It is your week.
Next week we are going to be talking about terrible movies. So the Room, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, we're going to be talking about.
Sorry, I just remembered like movies are your thing. That's why it's on the schedule.
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
All right, so that's what we're going to talk about next time.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys. Enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, is what I said. I kind of mumbled that. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see you guys next time. Today, when this goes live, it should be election day in the US. So vote if you haven't already.
Now.
Thanks for coming again. Until next time, nerd out.
Bye.
Nerd out.
Bye.